So that's what I saw. It's like, I need to try this thing because there's too big of an opportunity here. And I don't want to look back and be like, I could have been first wave, but I held off.
So is it still first wave or have we just missed that? I just saw a little munchkin walk past you in the back.
Yeah, he just dove right in right at the record.
That's awesome. All right, well then we'll hop right into it, man. First of all, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm a little angry that I was running late. I hate being late for people's things or forgetting things. So that's
Yeah.
like I get really pissed off about it. So when I'm the one that does it, it makes me a little upset. So I apologize for that. But we're
Hey.
good, we're ready to rock.
Yeah, absolutely. No stress at all. We're going to have an awesome conversation and I'm excited for this one. I've been watching your content for a while. I think I even took one of your courses a while back. So I always knew you as the Facebook ads guy or the paid ads guy, but I wanted to get more to know more about you and how you got into this industry. So could you give me like the steps that got us to that point and then we'll progress to where you are today?
Yeah, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version that probably hopefully doesn't bore everyone watching this. So started my first company. I was in college, did the whole Silicon Valley venture back thing for a few years. It sounds sweet. We could do a whole episode about how I really don't like that world. And I think all the flaws in it, especially if you watch like the latest documentaries coming out about like the Theranos, the Dropout Hulu show that came out. They're super pumped about Uber. Like it's a really, really toxic place and toxic world. But yeah, so I did that for a few years, then eventually just ran out of money, couldn't get any more people to invest in the company and failed, and had to fire everyone and all that fun stuff, and left that with less money than I started in, negative money, right? Because I maxed out credit cards. And at the end of that, I started my first e-commerce store. So I started getting into this idea of like, I spent 3 years in this world where the mindset is you'll eventually make money, right? It's like build, and then eventually you'll make money. That's the model for a lot of those companies. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, and this is, over 10 years ago. And then I was like, there's this whole world where it's like print on demand and drop shipping and direct response marketing, where like you're telling me I could run an ad to a store, sell a t-shirt, and that t-shirt is like being shipped by somebody else and I get paid today. Like it was so cool to me, this idea that like I can actually make money today on something. And so I got really, really hooked. And the first store I started was called Startup Drugs. It was an apparel brand for entrepreneurs. We had lots of like funny saying. It was like very sarcastic about all the things that entrepreneurs get, right? Yeah. We were kind of really early to that game. Eventually, I actually sold that company twice, that's a whole interesting story. Yeah. First time we sold it to an investor, and then second time we rebrokered it. Russell owns it. So Russell runs and owns Startup Drugs now, which is cool. Awesome. He was one of our first customers back in the day. But yeah, so I got into that. Facebook ads became the primary traffic driver. So I started doing more Facebook ad consulting and, stuff. And I was back then happy to charge, $1,500 a month to run ads for people. It's, you come a long way. I remember how excited I was to get like my first person paying me to run Facebook ads for them at like $1,000 a month. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And at that point met my current partner, Jeremy, who we run Unicorn together. And he had done a deal with Kevin Harrington, who was one of the first sharks on Shark Tank, invented an infomercial that's seen on TV. And we started an agency together because he was getting all this deal flow. All these companies wanted to do deals with him, but like they all needed marketing. And he's like, you guys do marketing. Let's just create a company together so I can send all my business there. And that grew over multiple years. That was kind of my first foray into agency world. And we did the big full service kind of agency. It morphed into that, multiple offices, lots of overhead, lots of clients. I quickly realized like this is the worst. So like now I'm very against agency. Like, trying to build a big agency, it's an HR company. It's a disaster. But got lots of experience. Worked with 3M, Sam's Club, dozens and dozens and dozens of product companies. And then we also launched some of our own products. And then since then, we 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, started Unicorn Innovations, really like just high level. Unicorn's kind of a holding company at this point. We do consulting, performance marketing. We've got an agency, a really boutique agency that we're kind of more just passive owners in. We have an education business that does teaching, education, info product stuff. We own a portfolio of e-commerce properties and content sites, and then have a mastermind called Founders Mastermind. That's like a $25K a year kind of high-end group for entrepreneurs, business owners. So involved in a lot of things. At this point in my career, I'm kind of doing more advisory work, consulting work, and most of the deals we're doing are like equity sized deals, because that's what excites us is, not making so much money today, but it's like, we've done that. It's like, what can we do that's going to make us tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars?
Damn. That's awesome. That's a lot to unpack.
It's too much.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing all that. I want to go back to when you were starting your own company and you got funding and whatnot. What was that company?
So it started, the initial name was called the Daily 100. And it started that way because we gave away $100 cash every day for the best picture. So what we did is we basically would run daily giveaways, and it was tied with a brand. So you could, this is again, I was 20, 21, so this is almost 12, 13 years ago, where brands, businesses could set a challenge. So like we did like a local Domino's. This is like one of our first people down in Gainesville, Florida. It's like come in, take a picture with like our new pizza, like a new flavor, and the craziest picture gets $100 cash. So kids would go in, order pizza, take pictures, share them. We were mobile first. So we had a really great mobile app. That was before people were mobile first. And then eventually became Loot. So LOOT, became more of a micro rewards platform. So you could earn like 25, 50 cents for sharing something on social, for taking a picture, for completing different actions for brands.
Okay.
Or you could win, discount codes, promo codes, all kinds of rewards.
Yeah. And so you mentioned how you didn't like that whole world and you wanted to transition into more the online space for yourself. What was it that you didn't like in the VC backed world?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you're running a company that is driven primarily by an outside capital, meaning that it doesn't have really any revenue or earnings to fund overhead or even growth, you're constantly thinking about that. You're constantly trying to raise more money. And that's why a lot of startups, like the CEOs, the executive team, are full-time fundraisers. Like it's basically what we did for pretty much an entire year. Like the last year of the business, me and my partner Nick were just traveling city to city, meeting with investors, pitching. And so you're doing this, but you're trying to run a company. Like you have a company to run and grow, but you're spending all your time just trying to get people to give you money to do the next thing for your company. So I think it's inherently a flawed model, because the founders and CEO and the executives should be focused on growing the company and executing, not getting more and more money for future things, right? So that's a real big problem. And it's also just really stressful, right? When you're running a business and every single day the bank account balance just goes one direction, and there's no ability for the bank account to go the other direction unless more people give you money, it's incredibly challenging and tough to deal with. It's easy in the first few months when you have a lot of cash in there, but it starts to get like, oh shit, we have 4 more months left, 3 more months left, 2 more months left. And it can be really, really hard to stomach that.
Damn. Yeah, no kidding. I hadn't even really thought about it like that, but I guess it's so true. They literally are, instead of running the company, you're just trying to get more funding. That is just such a strange dynamic, because I've never ventured into that world, no pun intended. And so it's crazy to hear, but because people do glamorize it a lot. They make it sound like it's the best way to go and the only way to go, really. So it's really cool to hear your perspective there. So then you transitioned to the e-com world. Like, what was the first thing you did? Because I know you started a bunch of stuff, as we just heard about, but what was your first dip into doing more stuff in the e-com space?
Yeah, so it was Startup Drugs. So that was the first
one.
The first store was Startup Drugs. I started that like right when Loot winded down.
Okay.
Because and it fit, because I was like, this world is so crazy and so ridiculous, but like nobody's talking about it. Everyone glamorizes it and says how cool it is. And so I just like, I'm going to put a bunch of sayings on shirts that only entrepreneurs really get. And it's going to be like poking fun at it. And this is back in the day, like Product Hunt is obviously a massive company, and they do a lot more than just what they used to do. But like back in the day, we were one of the first companies to like list on Product Hunt. And basically Product Hunt, if people don't know what it is, it's a kind of an aggregator of like hot new businesses or tech or tools, and it gets upvoted. So every day you can upvote, startups or tools or software, whatever it is. And so we were one of like the early people on Product Hunt, and our store got put up there, and I think it was the second most upvoted store for the day. And it drove, insane amounts of traffic even back then. So we knew we were onto something. We're like, hey, we just made like $5,000 today, which at the time was like incredible for me to sell $5,000 of something in a day.
Yeah, that is awesome. So then what brought you to the world of paid ads? Because that's how I came to know you, was your experience with paid ads and info products you have around that space. Like, how'd you get into Facebook ads, or what was your first form of paid advertising?
Yeah. So Facebook was the first. And for me, it really started, I'd like to say that I had this big, bold strategy of like, I chose this because of this and I had this game plan. For me, it was like, I had this store and I knew we needed to grow it. And I started hearing some people I knew like, hey, Facebook is big and you can run ads on it and all this stuff. And so I was like, I'm going to try it. And so it just happened to be the first thing I tried, and it happened to work. And because it worked, I got more into it and spent more time on it, which made it work better. And then it just created this kind of roller coaster where it just kind of snowballed downhill, and it became the thing over a period of years.
It seems like you also started at a great time for Facebook, where before it really took off, because now it's gotten to a point where it's so saturated. I'm sure that's why you've transitioned to taking over TikTok ads. So can we move over there and talk about the current state of TikTok ads and why you're focusing more there?
What's interesting too with Facebook, like to just kind of illustrate your point a little more for people.
Yeah, please do.
I'm just going to put this second AirPod in because I think this one's dying. You're at this point where Facebook, you're putting in more and more effort for lower and lower returns.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friend and mentor, Rich Sheffrin, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Like every platform has a life cycle, and it's kind of, you visualize it as a graph. He has like a 2-line graphs that kind of intersect, and one is effort and one is reward output kind of benefit, right? And so in the beginning of a platform, you have a lot of reward, a lot of upside profits for little effort. And then as the platform matures and matures, these things cross to the point where you're putting in more and more work, and the results keep getting worse and worse and worse. You're putting more just to try to maintain. And so what I realized is at every major breakthrough point in my career where I've made the most money and achieved the most success, it's come from cracking a new ad channel, cracking a new marketing strategy, doing something new, or being one of the first onto something, maybe not the first, but being in that first group. And so whether that was Facebook, whether that's TikTok, we have a big political e-commerce portfolio, and we were one of the first people on Parler before they got shut down last year. And same thing there. We were doing, I think we were doing $500,000+ a day in revenue just from Parler for a multi-week period before they got shut down. So again, like when you're early to something, there's massive rewards for being early to something. Obviously taking risks, like Parler didn't pan out because they got shut down, and there's nothing. But yeah, so TikTok for me, it's like I saw the writings on the wall. I saw that Facebook is not going to get better, right? It's if anything, it's getting worse. They're removing features. They changed their attribution model that made it way worse to track. And listen, I think I want to make this point because I see a lot of people like that are still in the Facebook ad game. That's still like, that's all they do is Facebook ads. They seem to get kind of to the most politically correct way to say this. Like they get a little upset that people are trash talking Facebook, and they're like, hey, all these people that made money with Facebook ads now saying Facebook ads don't work. And I want to be clear, like Facebook ads still work well for a lot of businesses. We still run Facebook ads. We still have a team that runs Facebook ads. The point though is like, you can't get so attached to a platform that you don't see the bigger picture. Like I don't view myself, I know other people view me this way, but I don't see myself as a Facebook marketer or a TikTok marketer. I'm a marketer. I'm an entrepreneur, right? Like I love marketing. I love the concept of being able to grab somebody's attention and get them to do something we weren't planning on doing. Like the ability for us, like as marketers, is this, we take this for granted how powerful this is, but we have the ability with a message, with a video, to get somebody to stop scrolling on their phone, to watch something, to take their wallet out of their pocket, take their credit card out and buy something on impulse. That's amazing. That's an incredible power. And it should be totally irrelevant what you use to do that, whether it's TV, radio, influencers, affiliate marketing, direct site buys, native, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. Doesn't matter, right? If you're a good marketer, you can use these platforms. Obviously, they have some technicals you need to learn, but Facebook, do I think it's going to disappear in a year? No. In 5 years? No. Do I think it's going to look different in 10 years? Probably. I think they're putting all their eggs in the metaverse basket, and I don't know if that plays out for them, right? And we can talk about that at length, but TikTok is where the opportunity is right now. It's where a lot of brands want to go right now. It's where the momentum is right now. It's where the users are right now. It's where the user growth is right now. So it would be foolish if you're a good marketer to not try to figure this platform out. And again, not to say stop doing Facebook ads, but say, maybe I should try learning this and incorporating it into my kind of Rolodex of services. So that's what I saw. It's like, I need to try this thing because there's too big of an opportunity here. And I don't want to look back and be like, I could have been first wave, but I held off.
So many people, it seems like, are saying what you're saying. I think you were one of the first that I heard it, but since I've been seeing your content talking about the fact that TikTok ads is where you should be pushing, it seems like a lot of people are now pushing that narrative too. So is it still first wave, or have we just missed that?
Yeah, I still think we're and that's, by the way, that's the caveat disclaimer when you do podcasts with people that have babies. Like that should be just the disclaimer
Part
at
of
the
the game.
beginning. There's a baby in this video, so there will be noise and distractions throughout. Yeah, I still would consider us first wave. If you look at like Facebook ads, how long they've been around, and a lot of people like that got in 2017, 2018, they think that they were like early. Like
Mm,
they were like the good old days back in, and they weren't that early, but it was the good old days. Like 2017, 2018, things were still really, really awesome on the platform. So I still think we have a lot of time for TikTok. If you think about it, like it's really only been around as an ad platform for a little over 2 years. So we really started running and putting a good amount of time and attention to it. Not this Black Friday Cyber Monday, but the previous Black Friday Cyber Monday. So it's really been around for kind of two holiday cycles. But even back then, it wasn't super great or robust. And they're still figuring a lot of stuff out. They're hiring aggressively from Facebook, from Google, bringing talent in. They're expanding the ad platform aggressively. They're adding all kinds of features, bells and whistles. The algo is getting better. The signal data is getting better. It's still got a long way to go. It's still got a lot of issues to work out as a platform, especially on compliance and policy. So yeah, if you're watching this and thinking, hey, I missed it, like, no, you're still way ahead of the curve. If you can figure out, I'll put it this way. I know all the biggest players in the space. They're either friends or I know them pretty well. Every big agency owner, every big affiliate marketing network owner, every big ecom portfolio owner, aggregator. I know very, very, very few people who are like, we're consistently crushing TikTok ads. Most people are like, we're figuring out, we're getting some good days, some bad days. So there's a big opportunity for people to come in and be like, I'm going to dominate a market. I'm going to be the guy for local business, the woman for B2B, the
mm.
person for high ticket, just like back in Facebook.
Damn. Yeah, no, it's exciting because it seemed like everyone felt like they had missed the Facebook wave. So it's exciting that there is a new frontier and a new opportunity to be early on if you move. So that's super exciting just to hear that. So now that you've been in the trenches running TikTok ads for a while, what separates effective TikTok ads versus TikTok ads that don't work? Because obviously it's cheap, relatively speaking, but I'm sure you see things that perform way better than others.
You'll probably know the answer to this. It won't be a surprise, but it's ad creative, right?
Yeah.
Like that's everything. I mean, I do a lot of talks. I've done 3 large trainings this week for different people's tribes, and everyone wants to know about everything. They want to know, like, here's the hacks here. Like, how do I do this? How do I, it's all the technical crap. And it's like, no, all you need to understand to get started and to do well is how to put out really good native creative, right? Like, sure, knowing the other things is going to make you more effective and better. And there are always benefits to the technicals, knowing good campaign structure and how to do scaling and bidding and all that stuff. But I can say for a fact that every ad account, we have, I think, 50 ad accounts under our main business center. And we've had lots more like over time. Every ad account that is just like taken off and that's doing 10, 20 plus K a day is because of creative. It's because we tested and tested and tested and found things that worked and iterated on it. And it's not rocket science. Like this is what's so perplexing with the platform is that I think because we've all been so spoiled over the years with Facebook and how Facebook works, that like with Facebook back in the day, even up until recently, you didn't really have to be a good marketer to do well. You didn't really need to understand how to write copy or come up with good creative to make a lot of money. You could just be good at the technicals of like, I understand how to dupe things out and how to target and how to set bids to maximize my effectiveness, how the algorithm works, right? So you could run a crappy image ad, text says 20% off, buy today, 2 links, right? Whatever people used to put in there and work. And people are taking that mindset and going to TikTok and being like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. But again, it's so easy, like little things. Just if you spend 30 minutes a day inside TikTok as a user and you search the same searches that your target customer is searching and you filter last 7 days, most liked, and you consume the TikToks that are most liked, most engaged, most watched that your target customer is watching, and you study them, you take notes, you say, How are they opening? What are they doing in the beginning of the video with their hands, with their body? Are they inside or they're outside? Are they on a beach? Are they in a fun setting? Are they using a high def camera? Are they using a phone? Is it a guy? Is it a girl? Is it a young person, old person? Like, what's the text overlay say? What fonts are they using? What colors are they using? Like, there's dozens of things that you can look for and then see the commonalities, see the threads. Like, okay, I looked at 100 videos in last week. 20 of them that crushed all did this thing. I'm going to take this thing. I'm going to do it in my ad. Right. It's like, it's not rocket science. Like TikTok gives you exactly what to do. They tell you, do this. And more people don't do it. And I don't know why. It's perplexing that more people haven't just figured that out. I don't know if people expect it not to be that easy. It's like, it can't be that. It's got to be something else.
Yeah, I think so oftentimes we make it harder than it needs to be. Even if the answer's right in front of us, we're like, no, that can't be it because it's right there. So we overcomplicate things like crazy. But when you were saying all that, it reminded me of something that I saw directly from TikTok where they said, for TikTok ads, don't make ads, make TikToks. Like the fact that it should look native to the platform. And maybe that's something that people get wrong oftentimes, is that there is like a nuance to what a TikTok is. You can feel it when you watch it. So you've been making a lot of organic content for your own personal brand. And it's been cool to see because I only never knew you as the ads guy. So it's cool to see your other perspectives on things. What was the motivation to start branching out to all things? Like, I've seen you talk about economics. I've seen you talk about marketing, all sorts of stuff. So what was the motivation there?
Yeah. So two things. One is I'm at a point, I think, in my career where I only want to do things that I have fun doing. You spend the first, decade of your career grinding to get to a point where you have some freedom, right? It's like a fight for like financial freedom. And so you do what you need to do to get to that point. And then when you get to that point, you're like, I don't want to keep doing I'm not having fun doing this, and this. I'm going to stop doing it. And what I have fun doing is like, I have more interest in like marketing. I've realized that marketing for me was the skill that was most easily monetizable. And then I could get to a certain point with marketing. And I love it. I have a lot of fun with it. I love how the brain works. I love understanding psychology. I love reading books about it. Out of college, if I didn't do the startup route, I would have went and worked in investment banking or management consulting. Like, those are the paths for me. So most of my friends work at, JP Morgan, or they work at Goldman Sachs, they work at McKinsey or different companies. So like, I love that stuff and I love talking about it. And I have, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in it, but I have like a deep knowledge of a lot of topics in that world. Whether it's investing or economics or just kind of more macro level business trends and entrepreneurship. And so, I started a podcast with my buddy Los Silva, because he also is in Orlando. We have an office there and we have a podcast studio. And it's like, I go in once a week, we shoot a podcast and it's fun. Like, it's us hanging out. It's called Down the Middle. And like, we talk about marketing sometimes and business and stuff, but it's mainly just, we pick 3-4 topics in the news and we talk about it. And so that's been a bulk of the content I've been sharing is clips from that podcast. And then in terms of why I'm posting on TikTok specifically and doing more organic stuff, I would say that's twofold. One is there's a direct correlation to your level of awareness and authority and audience and how well you can do financially, right? There's just a correlation. It's the more you put out there, the more people understand you and see you as an authority, the more deal flow you get, the more opportunities you get. There's this indirect ROI. It's hard to trace back, but we've gotten so many agency clients, equity deals, all kinds of stuff because somebody said, hey, I watched your YouTube video 2 years ago, started following you, and then ascended up your ladder, right? So there's a massive hidden ROI in doing that. And then on the second point with TikTok specifically, I needed to. I think this is like the challenge a lot of marketers are running into, a lot of brands are running into on the platform, is they want two things that don't work together. So they want to be successful on TikTok as an ad platform. They want to be able to make it work, but they don't want to use it as a person, right? So they want to be able to make ads that work, but they don't want to use the platform to figure out what works. And they're not separate, right? I think you could have, back in the day with Facebook, you could have made a lot of money with Facebook ads and never logged in Facebook. I really believe that. Honestly, even most other channels, Instagram, YouTube, like obviously you're going to do better if you understand the platform, but like you don't have to be a YouTuber to run really good YouTube ads. Okay. With TikTok, like if you're not creating TikToks, it's very hard to do really good on the ad side because you don't understand how to shoot. You don't understand how to look, how to speak, how to clip things together, how to do scenes, how do you do trends? Like it's very difficult. And I'll say ever since I started being a lot more active on the platform, it's gone exponentially easier to do ads, to do creative. on the ad side, because it's like, shit, like this trend, this trend, this trend. Okay, I know how to do this. I know how to knock this out. This is how you edit it together. This is the type of text you overlay on it. Like it's becomes effortless at that point. Not to say that, everything you post is great, but like the method and the process becomes more routine and more familiar, and then becomes easier to teach and talk about. So for me, it's like I needed to do it in order to effectively be able to teach it, effectively able to do it. And also I have fun doing it. It's genuinely fun posting content there because it is so authentic and real and transparent, right? Every other social platform that I post on, this might sound bad to say, but like I put more thought into it, right? And by thought, I mean like, how will this be perceived? I don't mean like I just throw TikToks out there thinking about like the value of providing, but like with an Instagram reel, it's like, it needs to be a little more polished. Instagram posting needs a little more polished. Like, should I say this? Should I not say this? Like, is this a good, front end kind of visibility for me? With TikTok, it's like, just turn my phone on and shoot something, say something, right? Like I'm going to say what I want to say, and there we go. I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think that's probably why people fell in love with TikTok so much, is that there's no friction. I found that people just can create, and it really opened up the floodgates for people to create and then in turn consume too. And that's even built into the user experience across the board, which is awesome to see for a ton of people, especially marketers like you and I. So through all of your learnings and whatnot, you just mentioned that you've learned so much from creating on both sides. What are the biggest takeaways that you've seen that someone could implement today to dramatically improve their TikTok performance, like paid or organic?
The biggest, there's a few, but one of the biggest is that first 3 to 5 seconds is so critical. And whatever you do organically or paid, right? Like you are competing in the app with really short attention spans, right? TikTok's cool and unique because you have the full real estate of the screen, which is unusual, right? You have 100% of the screen real estate for that split second, but it is fleeting, right? They're just scroll. You need to have something really good to get them to stop. So like you can have the best joke or the best pitch or the best whatever it is in your ad, but if they don't stop and watch your ad, it's irrelevant. It means nothing, right? It's just going to sit there. Nobody's ever going to see it. So we spend a lot of time on opening hooks and opening ideas. That first 1 or 2 sentences, first 3 to 5 seconds, in my opinion, for all ads now is actually probably the most important, but specifically TikTok. So that's been a huge takeaway, is like spending a lot more time testing that. And one of the things we do, actually posted a video about this yesterday, is by creating a more modular approach to ad creative, where instead of looking at my ad videos as a singular thing that's A to Z, it's pieces, right? So I have a core part of my ad. I might have a close, and then I have an intro, an opening. And so if I shoot like that, then what I can do is I have 4 ads this week that I shot, 4 unique angles. I have a green screen. I have a self-interview style. I'm interviewing myself. I have a unboxing. If I want to create a lot of variations, now what I'm going to do is get my phone. I'm going to shoot 5, 6 opening. Each one's 3 to 5 seconds. I can knock that out in a few minutes tops. And now I combine those with the 3, 4 core ads I have, and I have, 15, 20 unique ads to test. And I'm really testing the most important part, which is that opening. So that's probably the biggest takeaway I've had, is to put a lot more time and attention into that opening hook. And there's tons of stuff we can talk about in terms of like specific tactics and strategies around that language to use. But yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I would actually love for you to dive deeper into that, because I've been getting so many questions on hooks and what makes a good hook. So I'd love to hear from you what goes into an effective hook.
For me, one of the biggest things is making it about the person seeing it, not you. So I think a lot of individuals, when they speak organically or on paid, they're talking from perspective of me. So it's, I did this is something I do. And people don't care about you. Right? I think it's hard to think ego wise. Like people don't care about us, right? They care about themselves. That's the real end of the day. It's like, I have a problem. I have a challenge. I have a need. How is this going to serve me, this piece of content? If it's not clear that it's going to serve me in any capacity, I'm gone. Right. So using, you making it very clear that this is something for that person, that you're about to tell them something that's going to help them right out of the gate. Really, really important. So in your first sentence, usually having a you in there is going to help a lot. Specificity is another big one. So you'll see a lot of videos that do very well on the platform are very specific, meaning like, Here's how you can turn 20 videos into 100 in 5 minutes, right? Like that's a bad one, but like, but it's very clear. It's like, you're going to do this in this, and this is going to be the outcome.
Okay.
Because again, when you require people to think or do work, they abandon it. People do not want to think. They don't want to process. They don't want to do work. And that's why like long landing pages, multi-step funnels, all those things underperform, because you're requiring people to do more steps. If you have 7 steps where they can buy, you're going to drop people off every single step because they're just gonna be like, this is too much work. If you have a single page checkout, you get a lot more people to buy because it's seamless, it's fluid, right? That's why like Apple Pay integration works better, because it's just double tap. I don't have to enter my credit card. I don't have to think about it. And especially it's like, I don't have to think about regretting the purchase because I'm putting my credit. This is, digressing, but like as I enter in all my information, I'm also thinking about what I'm about to spend money on, and I'm talking myself out of it. If I make that process like this, buyer's remorse happens after the fact. It's not happening as I'm making the purchase, right? So yeah, so specificity, removing the ability for that person to need to think how it's going to impact them, how it'll apply to them, is a really good one. Another big one, this is actually not from me, it's from a relatively new friend, but we've gotten pretty close. Michael Sanchez, who I think is like a brilliant TikTok marketer. We're doing some cool stuff together. We were talking last night, and he's like, it's amazing how few people think about like motion, right? They think about opening sounds and opening hooks, but they don't think about like opening motion, meaning like what are you doing motion wise in the first few seconds, right? Is you throwing something against the wall? Are you flashing something on the screen, right? And I thought that was a really good point, because I've been doing that, but I haven't actually like articulated that. But that's another good one. It's like having something in your first few seconds that is going to relate to what you're eventually going to talk about. So like even something little, if I was going to talk about being a dad, or tips of being a dad, or what I learned being a dad, or being a dad entrepreneur, or tips for, parents, it would make a lot more sense for me to have my boy sit in my lap in the beginning of the video, holding up, jumping, right? Instead of me just talking to the camera. And a lot of people don't do that. It's like a lot of people you'll see, they'll do content talking about, advice for cooking better, or for getting in better shape, or whatever it might be. And it's them talking to the camera, maybe in their room, their living room, their office, in the garage. But it's like, why aren't you, if you're doing like a fitness thing, why aren't you on a heavy bag, hitting a bag really hard as the camera's starting? If you're talking about a recipe, why aren't you like in an apron, like covered in shit, like your kitchen's kind of a disaster zone, making stuff like little things like that also make a difference, because people are going to instantly relate that this person's talking about cooking, because I don't even need to hear them. The split second I see apron, cook, mess, food, I'm in, right? So that's another big one, is incorporating your kind of your setting, your starting motion, what you're doing out of the gate. And I think another big one is just being quick with cuts, right? Like, and this was a stat TikTok shared with us over a year ago. I think it's like 99.29% of top performing ads are multi-scene, right? So having a straight shot where it's like what we're doing right now, if we were using this on TikTok, like wouldn't do well, because it's just boring. It's not dynamic. Nothing's changing. You're going to lose attention. And you don't necessarily even need to change the background, but you could do, like, if you're clipping up a podcast, is, clip out pieces, and each clip just zoom in, right? Do a 2x zoom out 1x, right? So there's just motion happening, and you're cutting scene to scene. So you're just keep people a little more engaged. You're changing the background a little bit. So that's another thing that we've tried to do with all of our ads, and then on the organic side as well.
Yeah, you just have to do something to keep people's attention, because there's so much competition just to scroll away. So that's awesome points you nailed there. For TikTok specifically, I think a lot of people, like, as marketers, you can learn a lot from people that are having success. But I think sometimes people just fall victim to copying exactly what they see, and then it doesn't work for them the same way. What would you say in terms of like being unique and still trying to find success? Like how does someone balance learning from people versus having their own voice and unique touch to things?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I do see when you go into, because you spend a lot of time now doing trending sounds, like just really trying to stay up onto trends. And so we have a whole like database we built on Notion where we just store every trend we see and the link to it and how to use it and stuff. When you go into those trending sounds that have 5, 10, 50,000 videos, you'll see a lot of people, even at the top, which is the crazy part, basically doing the exact same text as the main video.
Yeah.
And it's just a different person doing it, but they're getting the same, they're getting, 500,000 views. And so it is interesting because it does work, right? It's like, if this went viral It's just, I'm just going to do the exact same thing, exact same sound setting, text, but it's going to be me doing it, not them doing it. It's hard. It's hard. I don't have a great answer because like for me, I've always been a believer in doing things that are original and being authentic and not forcing yourself to do or be something that you aren't for, money or for following or whatever it is. Conversely, like I think at the end of the day, if something works, there's a reason why it works. And to some degree, it is, foolish to not do something that works just because you don't want to be doing the same thing, right? It's this weird balancing act where it's like, it's the same thing for business, right? It's like, there's the old adage, like, who is it? This is gonna drive me. Roy Sutherland, who writes Alchemy, who worked at Ogilvy, says like, just because something's true doesn't mean the exact opposite thing also can't be true. And so there's this, I think a lot of people have this belief that like people have been doing things this way for so long. Like, I'm not going to just do it that way because that's the only way it's done. Like, there's always going to be a different way. Like, that's a very toxic way of viewing things because then there's no innovation. If you just keep doing things and assume that because somebody who's made a lot of money, been very successful, they must have done it perfectly. It's like, no, it might not be perfect. It might be the right solution. They just did it and it was good enough. And so yeah, like kind of getting back to the point, I went down a little rabbit hole there. Like, to answer your question, I'm not a fan of just copying, right? Like using the exact same hook. A lot of people do this on TikTok. It's like the 8 websites you never knew existed, part 2. I think using that as a content idea is worthwhile. Because I don't think anybody can put a copyright on like talking about cool websites, right? They can't. That's not like unique. I do think you see a lot of like what I'll see happen in the app. I'm sure you see this happen. Like somebody will share a hack in the TikTok app or a Canva hack or something. And then like within the next week or two, there's 20 other accounts sharing the exact same tip. Like, this is how you remove a photo background. This is how you do this. Like, that's, I think, just lazy. You're not going to build an authentic follow. I guess that's the final point I'll make here. And then I'll let you share. Like, if your goal is to build an actual community and following that truly values you, and eventually, ideally, is going to want to buy things from you and invest in you, which is the whole purpose. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, why would you build an audience if you're never going to sell anything to that audience, right? Then you should want to build that audience off of original, authentic ideas, because then they're following you for your ideas. If you're building an audience based on kind of regurgitation and copying other people's ideas, it's going to be very, very difficult to ever convert those individuals to anything monetizable. You're not going to be able to make money from it, because I've seen it happen time and time again. At that point, you're basically no better than the accounts, like kind of the inspirational accounts that just share, Denzel Washington or Joe Rogan speeches all day long. Like, you're going to get a lot of engagement, a lot of followers, but you're never going to make money.
Yeah, there's no relationship there. And I love that you talked about how like people do find success with just copying people to a degree, but it all, like you said, it's what does that really mean? Sure, you might get a ton of views, you might even get millions of views doing that, but what does that translate into dollars and cents, and even into your personal brand? Like, it doesn't mean anything. And for a personal stories, I had a video go viral where I talked about YouTube affiliate marketing strategy that I use. And this guy came and literally copied the video word for word. Like he literally must have wrote out the script, and he literally copied the entire video, even the on-screen visuals, word for word for word. And so I went to his profile, and he had done that with any money-making video that went viral. He literally would write down the script and did the entire thing. And he got to 100K in under a month. And I'm like, that is a problem. The fact that he can literally just rob people's content, and because it's all proven, tested material, he went viral so fast, and every single video popped off. So I think that's where it is. That's where I find it alarming, because you can find success, like you said, and he's proof of that. But it really comes down to like, what does that mean? I'm sure he may have a ton of viewers there, but I would hope that they're smart enough to realize that that's not his content, or not buy stuff from him. But who knows? I do agree with you totally. I think there's a lot to building your own thing your own way, and it becomes your audience when it is you. If you're playing a character, or if you're fitting into a role, what does that even mean for you? You're building a prison for yourself. You're not building freedom.
Yeah, I mean, what a smart person would do is they would have looked at your video and they would have seen, hey, I'm not going to copy this individual, but what I am going to see is that there's clearly interest in learning how to leverage my YouTube audience to make money with affiliate marketing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to come up with what's my cool strategy. How have I used YouTube to make money with affiliate marketing? And I'm going to share that, right? So that's the approach, is you look at themes and topics that your target customer is interested in, And if it's relevant, you have expertise in there, you're going to teach to a similar topic.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the play of how to do that right. And you probably still do very well that way. You might not pop off as much because you're not saying the exact words or doing the exact same things, but the substance is there. The overall theme is there. I don't know how TikTok fixes that. That's probably one of the biggest flaws potentially with TikTok is that because so much of the platform is built around using other people's sounds for your video, it's very difficult for an algorithm to flag that because the obvious rational solution would be just build into your algo the ability to flag once an original video says all these words. If another video comes up that copies it word for word to another account and isn't sharing the sound, flag it. I feel like that has to be doable to an extent because obviously when you share sound and it's playing in the background, it's easy for them to know that a sound was used. So this guy obviously didn't use your sound. No. He just took your script and word for word. So they should be able to, from a technical perspective, just analyze all the videos because they already do look through, they already listen and are able to turn that into, into something that's usable in the back end of their system. And just when that pops back up, exact sequence, same sequence of words, or like 90% similar, flag that.
Yeah. Like when you used to submit an essay in university or college.
Yeah. Plagiarism. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that happens. But yeah, it was crazy. A bunch of people kept tagging me in it because it's my most viewed video. And it was actually remarkable. Like he must have wrote it down word for word, but maybe they'll incorporate that. Who knows? But it is what it is. You got to take the good with the bad, I guess. But I wanted to ask you about your current TikTokinsiders.com. Is that your new education platform? Or tell us more about that.
It is. Yeah. And this is, I was doing a training yesterday for a pretty large group. And I was like, at the end, the guy, Brian, who runs it was like, hey, pitch whatever you want. And I was like, the irony of this is like one of the weirdest things, being a career marketer who I hate pitching. I hate talking. I hate selling anything. It's such a weird irony. I'll sell anybody else's product. I hate selling my stuff. What I will say, so yeah, it's what I realized. I've been doing education for over 5 years now. And I've done all the things. I've done courses. I've done group coaching. I've done the Facebook group that you pay for. What I realized, and I know all the big players in space. And so I have a lot of deep analysis of this. Individually, all those components don't get you to where you need to get, right? So like a course alone is not going to be the game changer for you. It might give you some good stuff, right? I'm not saying courses aren't valuable because there's courses in there. What I'm saying is to be successful in anything, you need more than one thing. You need to have the initial foundation of knowledge. You need to have support. You need to have community. You need to have ongoing training. You need to have a lot of different elements. And so initially with TikTok, we were going to do like the whole same thing we've done with Facebook. We have, of course, all the different programs. What I'd rather just do is just make one thing and put everything into that one thing. So it's the best thing out there. And that's what we did. So TikTok Insiders, essentially, it's like when you come in there, and we just upgraded yesterday to our own custom platform. So inside this platform, it's basically like a Facebook group Slack thing where it's got chat rooms, all kinds of stuff where you can ask questions, you can share tips, it's broken by topics. Then it has all our course library. So it has how-to videos and everything you need. Then we have live built into it. So we can do live trainings and coaching calls in there. So basically you can come in, you can get all the information you need to start running, to scale, to make creative. Then you can ask questions and get hundreds of the marketers sharing answers and helping you and supporting you. And then you can get me and other experts doing regular trainings and coaching calls, sharing, here's the latest and greatest thing that's working for us. So that's what we did. And that allows us to focus all of our effort and resources in making this thing the best thing instead of trying to make like 3-4 things. And also from a marketing perspective, it's way easier to grow something when you're focused on growing one thing instead of selling a course, instead of selling a group. Like you're spreading your resources pretty thin that way.
I like that. And I guess that obviously came from trying everything and coming to this formula because that's something I've been battling with too, is like having courses, but then also having different offerings. That would be nice to have just one unified thing for a bunch of reasons you just mentioned. You can make it great and it's also easy to sell because it's one thing.
Yeah, I think that's the best approach, is at least one core offer. And then if you want to have, high ticket stuff that's more personal, like go for it. If you want to test different front ends, which is what we're doing now, like we're testing. We have this like trend database, like $19 lifetime access. We'll update it every week with like the latest trends and opening hook ideas. Like I just actually did a story last night just to test it out, and we had a ton of people buy it. And so like that's gonna be interesting, like entry level. So it's somebody running ads to this trend database. It's $19, low ticket. That moves into insiders. So we have kind of the core offer, and then around that core offer, we can test lots of little low tickets, and then we can test lots of interesting back ends. But like the focus is really just growing this one core thing.
That's awesome. And where can people access that? Just TikTokinsiders.com?
Yeah, TikTok Insiders, all one word.com. This is also how you know you're early on TikTok for anybody that still doubts it. The amount of domains that are available that would never in a million years be available from Facebook or Google is crazy. Like we've bought up all kinds of domains over the last year and a half. Yeah, we have TikTok ad course, TikTok ads 101, TikTok advertising agency, TikTok ad software, like a crazy amount of domains. Wow. That like would cost 6-7 figures for Facebook.
Damn, that's so smart. You actually just gave me an idea. I'm going to start Googling after this call. So anybody who's interested, that'll be linked down below. So go access that. I'm definitely interested in joining that too. Was there anything else that you wanted to plug today? I know you've dropped a ton already.
No, I don't want to plug anything. I would say that's the only thing that I think people should care about. That's the best thing to join. And then I just am sharing a lot more stuff on TikTok now. So at Maxwell_Finn. And then Instagram, it's at MaxFinn, and YouTube, my channel, there's the kind of C/Maxwell Finn. So yeah, just go check me out. I'm sharing a lot more content there. I freed up a lot more time lately to just like create content because I have fun doing it, like sharing stuff.
Yeah, and I can say as someone who's like consumed a lot of your stuff, you're somebody who is worth selling themselves because I've actually taken your stuff and it's actually good. Whereas a lot of people who have no problems selling themselves probably shouldn't be as much. So that's awesome. I
appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your stuff and I look forward to more of it too. And I look forward to getting into that TikTok course that you have or the insiders. So I just want to thank you so much, Maxwell. I appreciate your time here. I think that's everything for me. Anybody who watching this, listening to this, everything that Maxwell mentioned will be in the description box. So go check that out, whether you're watching it on video or in the podcast show notes, it'll all be there. So thank you so much, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.